A very good day and welcome to Citizens Dialogue on First Nest News. I am Becky Usoro. The Labour Party is finally saying out loud what many Nigerians have been asking quietly. They regret losing Peter Obi. That admission came straight from Abia State Governor Alex Otti at a crucial NEC meeting in Abuja. But today, the real issue isn't the regret, is what led to it. Was Peter Obi's exit an unavoidable political decision or the direct result of a party consumed by leadership battles, court cases and internal sabotage? If the Labour Party could not manage its biggest political asset, can it truly manage national power? Now we're hearing promises of reconciliation committees, fresh congresses, and calls for old rivals to return. But is this a genuine reset or a late attempt to stop in the bleeding? And as a party insists it won't join any opposition coalition, one question hangs heavy. Is Labour Party rebuilding for the future or fighting for survival right now? As Nnamdi Kanu's case continues to swing back and forth, Nigerians are asking uncomfortable questions. Why is he still in detention? Why Sunday Igboho walks free? Who really decides justice in this country? The courts or political power? With an Arewa group now entering the debate, is this about security, ethnicity, or selective enforcement of the law? And at what cost to Nigerians' unity? In another developing story, anxiety is spreading across the southeast after IPOB declared a sit-at-home for Monday, February 2. But what exactly triggered this latest shutdown order? Was it frustration over Nnamdi Kanu's prolonged detention, anger over recent court developments, or a warning shot to the federal government as businesses shut down and residents weigh fear against defense? Is the region being pushed back into a circle of tension? And who really bears the cost? With me here in the studio to break these down is First Nest political analyst King Sojalo. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the show Citizens Dialogue on First Nest News. I am Becky Usoro. On here with me to have this conversation is First Nest political analyst King Sojalo. It's a pleasure having you, King
so much, Becky.
How are you doing?
Fine.
It's a beautiful Monday.
Yes, thank you so
much. You look amazing all the time. Your smile is very deep this morning.
Of course, it's a new week.
It's a new week. Yeah, happy new month. I just remember.
New month as well.
It's 28 days in a month.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And it's going to come very speedy the way it is.
Of course, of course.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, looking at what we've just read through, in Governor Otti is coming out boldly now to say they regret, losing Peter Obi in the party. Is it just a statement of fact, or what do you really have to say about that?
Well, Governor Otti has really expressed his, deep sincerity in the previous crisis that has really knocked the Labour Party and also the coalition as well. We're looking at it. We've had the suspension by the INEC of the previous chairman, so many delegates as well, and defection of so many. Just like what the Abia State Governor has made known, that of Peter Obi as well, and other high stakeholders in that coalition movement. From observation, you will see that indeed Governor Otti is a man of peace, and when someone really desires peace, he wants it within his kindred. You know what I mean? So he is looking at reunion. That is what I see he's trying to do. So his regret is not just his deep feeling right now is not just because the party has lost a prominent person, because just like he said that despite the defection of so many high profile personalities there, that the party remains strong. So that was one of the statements he made. But he is looking for a means whereby the party will gain its structure again, because we know how fluently Labour Party has been on the long run since 2023 presidential election, even in the presence of Peter Obi and thereabout. You understand? Currently the crisis hitting the party. He also revealed that he had personal conversation with the former governor of Anambra State. We're talking about Peter Obi, and he said he made mention about something that really struck me. He said he came to him for consultation even before he left, but his sudden movement was what struck him, because based on brotherly discussion, he tried to concern him and talk to him about moving the party forward despite the crisis and thereabout. But so from the look of things, I think there is an influence.
Okay.
Yes, somewhere. So he has been influenced to take such actions, because if not, Labour Party happens to be one of the prominent party in Nigeria for the time well-being, even since the Fourth Republic. But if you look at it, you definitely see that these are present administrations have been running around, has been rattling around all coalitions, through influential means.
But can just to interject you,
yes,
can the Labour Party really stand realistically without Peter Obi?
Of course. Just as the Abia State Governor has put it to the public, he said, despite the present situation, that they remain strong. You understand? The absence of Peter Obi doesn't guarantee the downfall or the total downfall of Labour Party. You understand? There are other candidates, maybe not known to the public currently, that can also revive the party system in times of contesting for this upcoming election. You understand? So the Labour Party still remain, despite its current status, they still remain strong and steadfast. You understand? Now they are also having a means of this internal rebuilding, just as Alex Otti has clarified to the public. We could see also some recent ordinations, even from the INEC, recognition from the INEC. So definitely, from the look of things, Labour Party is still on the race to challenge the great opposition coming 2027. So I don't think there's any fear or alarm, but there's any cause of rising alarm even to their supporters nationwide.
So what does this message, pass to the public to send to party members and voters ahead of future elections?
Exactly. I think they should take the word of Alex Otti, very seriously. You understand? I'm not saying Alex Otti is all that powerful, but we are looking at a state governor who is very, very straight and direct, in the sense that he is doing the needful and also putting his party alongside. You understand? Unlike other governors that I won't want to mention their name, they just take the party system all along, letting the purpose in which they are a sitting governor. You understand? But Alex Otti, if you look at his system and his well-being so far, you see that he is taking the party alongside with his administration. For a city governor to say, no matter what, no matter the influence, no matter the pressure from other coalitions, I am not going to leave this party. I will stay and help to rebuild the party. And as he's doing so, we can also see he is doing the necessity to make sure that Abia State remain in the top list of the economy, and is also doing that. And for that action alone, definitely you are increasing, giving the party, that is Labour Party, a great name and great reputation. So definitely Labour Party is also it also has that strength to contest for the 2027 election. Okay,
looking at the case of Nnamdi Kanu, Sunday Igboho, that is being freed, and while Nnamdi Kanu remains in detention. What explains this clear contrast?
Well, we see, first of all, we want to know who Sunday Igboho is. I think if you look at his full name, Chief Sunday Adeniyi Adeyomo, that is his name that is usually known for. But this guy's name, where people call him Sunday Igboho, known to be the Oduduwa agitator, you understand, flew the country, I think 5 years before now. We're talking about the year 2021, thereabout, where he was sent on exile by the former administration, talking about the life of President Buhari, the late President Buhari, due to his agitation, trying to create, just as the known IPOB leader was also known for. We're talking about Nnamdi Kanu, but due to sentiments also from federal level, he was pardoned. Whatever the case may be, some will call it probably partiality, some will call it tribalism, and others will call it immoral act, or the way most people will put it. But I think there are deep meanings to this concerning that of Sunday Igboho, and also concerning that of Nnamdi Kanu. We all know that Nnamdi Kanu has been a fraudulent war fronter. That is someone who is always, trying to fight for the right of of a society, known to be prescribed as the IPOB, and also trying to, make them have freedom in some cases. Now, Sunday Igboho, I think his own means is just a means of threat, sponsored by inward predators. How will I call it now?
I'm trying to understand what you just said.
Okay, he's being sponsored. The way I see from my observation.
Like, who is being sponsored?
I'm talking about the Oduduwa agitator, that is a Sunday Igboho.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he is being sponsored. Not, there are some people who come out in the public to try taking some actions, but they are not really doing it from their own.
So looking at what Sunday Igboho did, that of Nnamdi Kanu,
kind of similar. Yes, similar actions and thereabouts. Yes. And you want to ask, why is the IPOB leader being detained?
Yes,
and why
is it like taking its matter to cause, or does he point to selective justice influenced by politics or ethnicity?
When there was an intervention, concerning that of Sunday Igboho, by high level, there was by high level prominent monarchs. We also have that of the Oni of Ife intervene in this matter.
That's that of Sunday Igboho.
Yes, we also have that.
So is that why he's being framed?
I'm coming. Okay. We also have people who intervene on his behalf, also by the Olubadan, and we also have that of Oba Rashidi Lord Ladoja, that is also the current who intervened in this issue now. Let me tell you this, Becky. You can see now why I wouldn't want to see this partiality.
That ethnic went.
Yes, why I wouldn't want to put that in this case is because Sunday Igboho really had people who voluntarily stood and came out to the president or to the federal government and say, look, I think you should please, on behalf of our monarch rights and thereabout, please spare this man. Let him be taken away from Ezza and let him return home. Now, I'm not saying people didn't, meet the federal government in
that
case of.
Yes, I just wanted to say that.
Yes,
that's of Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes, of course.
Is there nobody intervened on his behalf?
There was intervention, but we are looking at now. But I mentioned prominent people. You understand? I did not call members of Senate. I did not call maybe state governors. I'm talking about monarchs. You understand? Who stood? And most times these monarchs are, in most cases, very close to the president, be it in the south, be it in the north, any region of the country. So I think
so the ones that actually went to speak on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu, they aren't close to the president. Is that what you're trying to say?
The president, the view of the president might not, might not be similar with this. In terms of a governor, now I can't recall any governor trying to plead. Yes, I can't recall any governor trying to plead.
You don't have to come out to to the public to make such.
But I could recall senators. If you remember last year, where about I think 50-something senators and speakers in the House of Senate, pleaded on his behalf, and it was, you understand. Now, in this case, we're talking about high-profile personnel. We're talking about monarchs and thereabout. I think probably, if it was done in this same format of that of Nnamdi Kanu, probably. But the federal government, you understand, due to allegations and thereabout from judiciary system on the IPOB leader, talking about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I think this was what really triggered the federal government to also maintain his detention even in this present situation. So
finally, is Nigerian applying on law to all or different rules to different regions?
Applying on law, I think just as I usually say, the judiciary system has failed. You understand? The judiciary system is not applying its full force. Okay. You understand? They are not really doing the needful in order to make it fair in both sides. Okay. You understand? Let's be honest with ourselves. Despite interventions of whoever, I don't care. But I think the judiciary system need to really work on themselves. They need to really, stand by the law. Even just as Nnamdi Kanu, so just as he told the Justice Oboto, show me where it's written, and you could remember those statements from him. So I think the judiciary system have to really work. The federal government should, by any means, because it has the power to really intervene in our judiciary system, so that whenever they are trying to convict anyone, be it an agitator, be it a criminal, they should be fair. justice, clear justice should be given when it is necessary, and pardon should be given to those, those who it should be pertain to when it's also necessary at the right time. You understand? Now, in the case of Sunday Igboho, if he's being pardoned, I think even if that of Nnamdi Kanu, he has done something very, very drastic that really warrants his life sentence, then it should be looked into again, so that at least the reputation of the federal government will not be heavily criticized, because there are great criticisms not just in Nigeria, also in diaspora, because the news has gone around. Even the US conference also made it clear that why would this, you understand, we are not only talking about Sunday, but even that of Asari, many of them, they are asking, why are these people going scot-free and Nnamdi Kanu is in prison? So that is why it bounds back to our judiciary. We should stop looking for intervention of foreign envoy and thereabout. Let the judiciary work on themselves in order to make things be partial in the country.
Thank you so much, Kings.
Thank you, Becky.
It's still the show Citizens Dialogue on First Nest News. I am Becky Usoro. Let's go for a short break. When we return, we're going to the Southeast concerning the sit at home today, Monday, 2nd of February. Still here on Set With Me is King Sajalo. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the show Citizens Dialogue on First Nest News Port Harcourt. I am Becky Usoro. Still here on Set With Me is King Sajalo. Thanks for joining us. We've had the story of, last week of the sit-at-home that's happening in the Southeast. And then the IPOB has come out to still say that February 2nd is still a sit-at-home across the Southeast. What do you have to say about that, Jalo? Who really holds the power on the ground in Southeast? Is it the state or the IPOB?
Constitutionally, it's the state governor.
Okay.
Yes, and the state governor have a right to, decide or give declaration for the citizens of the state to hack into, so that it will be commenced and thereabout. Yes, recently the governor on Friday as well, he also made it clear that every rollout of a sit-at-home order should be wiped off the state, ordered students start to go back to school, and also gave clear orders for the security force. We're talking about the police, to make sure sanity and also protection of the well-being of the citizens, to make sure that the citizens are well protected from any non-political rivals who might want to propagate one or two due to their orders. You understand? So the governor have every right to decide, make decisions of this. And now we are looking at consequences of failing to go about or taking commands from the. So
how should the government respond? Through negotiation, enforcement, or ignoring it?
Well, if we say the negotiation, if we say government should negotiate with
or
the
IPOB, just ignore it because he's a government.
Because definitely there will be critics that
citizens.
I'm coming. When you say government should negotiate with this prescribed IPOB personnel,
it's a question: should they negotiate or enforce or ignore?
Of course.
What should the government do?
I don't think.
Looking at what's happening in the Southeast.
Yes, no, I don't think there's any cause for negotiation, because it will be put to the state governor that he is, negotiating with terrorism, because those people presently
are the terrorists.
Yes, that was what the government, the federal government, put them to be.
That's the IPOB.
Yes, the IPOB. They classify them as terrorists. But looking at it, I think these are just agitators. You understand? Proclaiming the rights of the Easterners to be theirs, but the federal government has, prescribed them to be terrorists. Everyone who is non-political rivals are terrorists now in the country. But looking at it, I think there are people who are agitating even from the commencement of Nnamdi Kanu and thereabout. Now, government negotiating with them, it will be criticized.
So is it about Nnamdi Kanu's attention, or there's something behind why they are not, aligning with the state government?
Of course, just that ordeal of sit at home,
okay,
which the government has refused to make for it to take a continuity in the state, is what is if you look at it, that is what is really bringing this disagreement. You understand? The government has debunked it and doesn't want the enforcement anymore in that state. Now the prescribed people of IPOB are saying this is what we want, and in the constitution, Nigeria constitution currently, you check it very well, the IPOB are not there. So definitely that of the state government will definitely comment. So it will be a setback on the government if it negotiates or if he, chooses to allow the orders of the IPOB institution to continue to take place. You understand? It will be a how will I put it now? He will be taken as if he is not doing his. To him, he will be taken as if he is not doing his job as a city government. But he should also know that there are side effects towards this. You understand? These people are ready to go on the front line to really take some drastic actions for these commands they've given to citizens of that state to commence. Because definitely, just I listened to the video of a particular woman who said, due to the order of the state governor, her husband was kidnapped because the state citizens disobeyed the rule, and thereby they were kidnapped by unknown government. Probably it might be from the IPOB and thereabout, that it was because of the governor who gave the order that they shouldn't be seated under such thing. So,
when did this incident happen?
Of course, on Friday, you understand, though the video has been trending and thereabout, she has been calling on bloggers to make sure that it is spread and it goes viral and thereabout. Now, why am I saying this? If the state governor is giving an ordeal, he should make sure that security are intact, because these people are not going to rest. You understand? They are going to continue making sure that their own prescribed decision stand, even despite the state governor, as giving his own ordeal for the state to take on.
So finally, who benefits from this sit at home, and who pays the price? The citizen inside or the government? Who pays the price?
Oh well, just like you said, the citizens indeed, because they are in the middle. They are the middleman right now.
Okay.
You understand? The government in one side, the citizens in the other side. So the citizens are like, who do we hack into? Who do we take? Who do we follow their rules? Is it from the IPOB agitators? Is it from the government? So there is fear in the lives of the citizens right now. So definitely in Anambra State, definitely out of 100%, 70% might want to go of that of the command of the governor, but 30% are still striving to follow full decision of the state governor, and it will definitely take time before it's a battle between the state governor and the prescribed IPOB agitators. So it is a thing that either the governor have to act fast to make sure and get also federal backings to make sure this is really put to order before the agitators take over completely. So it is a one-way thing for the governor to do the needful accurately, so that it does not affect the well-being of the citizens, because the citizens are in the middle, and definitely they are the ones who are going to face battles in that of Anambra State.
Thank you so much, King Sajalo. It's a pleasure having you on set all the time.
Thank you, Becky.
Thanks, everyone. That's our show for today. Citizens Dialogue on First News Port Harcourt. I am Becky Uzur. Many thanks for watching. Bye for now.